take an admission exam. So you'll need to sign up for that admission exam. In a lot of instances, pay for the admission exam. But also, prior to taking it, you must study for it. As an admission officer, they're going to be looking for some letters of recommendation and an essay, because those two areas tell us a lot about the people. And then what other information should you think about? And then if you're going to have an interview, um, what are some of the things you need to think about? So we'll be talking about that, and we'll be talking about some tips and advice and so on. But I want to say that where you go may be important to you, but what you learn is more important. Employers care about what you know rather than where you went. So let's start taking a look at, is graduate school right for you? What you need to do is you need to take a look at the purpose. Why do you want to go to graduate school in the first place? It's a lot different. More is expected of you. You also need to take a look at time. Do you have the time for a graduate program, both for you, yourself, as well as family members if you have a family? The important thing you must have is some sort of balance in your life. A lot of times people will see the short amount of time that it takes to get a graduate degree, but they may not be looking at, with shortness of time, could be intensity in the program. Are you ready for the additional stress that might bring? Now let's take a look at academia. If you want to go into some sort of teaching profession, it's going to really demand that you have the right attitude, that you're able to help a lot of people who may have different learning styles. You've got to have the temperament to be patient. I look at myself when I'm in front of a class as a reverse banker, depositing knowledge into the minds of the students who are in my class. However, every student may not want to accept your deposit. So what are you going to do there? If you're looking for something like being a doctor, that's going to take a professional license. Are you ready for that journey? Because once you finish graduate school, there's more schooling, and then there's some working and residency and so on, those other requirements that you have to have. So you got to keep the end goal in mind of what you want to do. If you're looking at changing your career, then basically what you have to do is to look at why, what, and basically the what is the company looking for that you don't already have? And what is this graduate degree going to do for you? And lastly, once you get it, does what you have match what the company is looking for? And then how will you meet it? And so basically a lot of things go with, don't do something that you hate. You got to have a passion for it. So you need to study something that you will love. Because if you get at the end and you find that being a medical doctor is not what you thought it was going to be, that's a little late to be trying to make that determination or to make that determination. So when you take a look at which way you want to go, a Master's of Arts or Master of Science or a Master of Education is something that you would need if you want to go into teaching. But one of the other requirements that you got to take a look at if you want to go into teaching is that it's becoming necessary for people to have master's degrees, but most educational systems, most school systems require not specialization, but going back to school to keep yourself current, to what they call professionalize your degree. And so you may get your degree when you go through graduate school, but you will continually have to professionalize that degree. If you take a look at law programs, most of the law programs are about 3 years. And I always ask, if you're a person that doesn't like to read, law is not for you, because law is a lot of reading, but law is also helping others. And there are many different areas of law that you can get into. If you get into corporate law, that may not take the same type of requirements like the bar. However, it is always best to go in front of the Bar Association for that particular area. Companies have a great need for lawyers for trademark and other requirements there. The medical programs are going to get you in specializations. Uh, if you want to be an orthopedic doctor or a medical doctor or even a dentist, you're going to have to go through these programs. And like I said on a previous slide, it's going to require a lot of time. You're not just going to come out of the special program and automatically go right into your chosen profession, because you still have to make a determination of which practice you want to go into if you're a medical doctor. Do you want to go into family practice? Do you want to go into internal medicine? There are people there that will help you make that determination. If you want to go into a business program, that business program is there to help you look at a business from a total perspective of how material comes in the front, how material goes out the back, how you market that, what's the role of information technology, how do you manage your supply chain. If you want, what the value of an MBA is that it helps you see how a business runs, as opposed to that one particular area that you're in. And that's typically what companies are looking for. They want to see a person that's not just in accounting. They understand what it's like to work with marketing, and how marketing works with engineering, and how engineering works with manufacturing, and so on. A doctoral program, if you're working at a university like IPFW, they're going to want to make sure that you have what's called a terminal degree that makes you a specialist in your area. As a matter of fact, the JD is also called a terminal degree. You generally pick a field in a doctoral program, and then you have to prove or disprove. You have to have an advisor, and you have to go through a certain amount of presentation. So you think of all these areas. The question is, how do you go about doing it? Well, there are guidebooks that are published that can help you. I've listed a number of websites. These websites can help you. There are some on law, some on which graduate school to pick. Princeton Review tells you a lot because it's about ratings. You want to take a look at how certain schools are rated, because that influences a lot. At the end of the day, what you hope to have a graduate school do for you is to help you get a job. So it will help you to understand what that school might stand for. Remember before I said it's what you learn, it's not necessarily where you go, but what they want to know is that you've done your homework. So identify that program, do as much work as you can. If you're thinking about IPFW, it's right, the school is right here in Fort Wayne. There are alumni that can tell you about the school, what's done at the school, how the school has grown, tell you a little bit about its faculty, whether you're able to get close to that faculty or whether there are teaching assistants between. Do the professors have a passion? Do they care about you? What kind of professional journals do they write in? What kind of associations are they a part of? And the U.S. News and World Report puts out rankings of schools where they ask for student input. What kind of education are you getting here? They'll also ask other educators about the school. Uh, Recently, our business schools program, our MBA, showed up as 138 in the U.S. News and World Report. There might be a lot of people that say, wow, 138, why should I get excited about that? But think of all the schools that there are in the United States. I'd be glad to be 138. So that's one of the things, this particular page is helping you with identification. So how do you go about getting information on the schools? One way is to write a letter to a graduate admission office. They're going to send you a packet. They're going to try to make sure that you have all the information you need. That graduate school may not be in your locale where you are right now. So you might have to call some of those admissions offices and talk to them. In some instances, they have online ways where you can get in contact with them. But I've always had a firm belief that nothing beats visiting an admission office if you can, because that admission office is usually in one of the areas of the school where you'll see a lot of people, and you might be able to run into students, and you might be right around the office, right around the corner as it is here at IPFW from career services. So while you're there, you can find out, okay, I go to this school, will you help me get a position? Will you help me get a job? What are the things that, what are the other benefits to going to your particular university? As we go into looking at the programs, how do the teachers teach? Is it lecture style? Is it, are you 1 in 300 in a class? Are the class sizes small? Here, I believe at IPFW, we have a ratio of something like 17-1. Now, that doesn't say we have a lot of some classes that have a lot of people, but you really want to know whether or not you can get to that faculty person. That's where a teaching assistant comes in. Some teachers may have a teaching assistant, and you might have to go to that teaching assistant before you go to the teacher. How much time should I think of spending on this program? But not only, don't just think about class time. Think about the amount of time that you will be spending out of class. Most programs today are groups based, so you'll be working with a group. So you'll have to figure out how much time you'll have for that. How many people are able to stay in the program? How many people drop out? Why do they drop out? I usually say, as a rule of thumb, a 3-credit-hour class, you can probably look at spending anywhere from 3 to 6 hours out of class, depending on your learning style. How do I get into the school? And once I get into the school, what's the environment? What's the student body like? How does the school approach educating me? Is it all theory? Is it real world? Are the people standing in front of me people who have been practitioners that know what it's like to work in the, quote, real world? Am I able to engage the community? Do we work with consultants? Or if I'm going to medical school, will I have an opportunity to work at a clinic? Of course, there are private institutions and public institutions, and that decision will be driven by costs. How much does it cost to go there? All these things need to be thought of beforehand, but when you also get to the point of comparing a program, what's the reputation of that school? And what's really important is how do they place their graduates? That is a question that would be given to career services. And the people in career services will be happy to tell you how they engage with employers, the kinds of help that they give students, the job fairs that they have on campus, and so on. Do you have to take classes during the day? Or what days of the week are the classes in the evening, and so on. So if you want to live, if the school is not in the locale where you are, what are the housing and living expenses in that area? And if so, where is that housing? When you think of how you want to go to school, full-time requires that you take a break on the job that you have if you are working. And again, it's risk reward. At the end of the day, you hope that by the time you're finished with the program that you're on, that there will be a position for you. So that's where you have to do some forecasting for the particular area that you're in and that you aspire to. Is that area still growing? Is there a need for a person who has a master's degree in nursing, for instance? Part-time allows you to go to school and work at the same time. How much help are you going to get from your employer, from tuition refund, for them letting you go to school and leave the job early? How are you going to mesh travel, which you might have to make, with going to school? And if you're a global student, you will need to pass some sort of foreign language test, because most of the classes are delivered in English. So you've done all of that, and now you got to make a decision. You got to rank your choices. So you take a look, and this is where you have to do an introspective look. You want to choose a school where you feel you have a great chance for acceptance. You also might want to take a look at where it might be competitive, where you meet the requirements. And if you get into that school, that will really make you feel great. Lastly, you might want to say, I've always wanted to go to school XYZ. A lot of people, GPA is important, test scores are important, but I'm getting to the point where you're going to have to take an interview. So it's more than just GPA and test scores. I've seen a lot of candidates that had 4.0 averages, but they weren't in any organizations, and they may not know how to work in a group's environment. You also want to think of, okay, who can I talk to? I was able to talk to professors. They were quite open to me. Hey, the people that are alumni of the school, IPFW, they really helped me. They really let me know the good as well as sometimes the not so good. And professionals, what were their experiences while they were going through the program? You also can't make a decision without taking a look at where it is you want to go. So you need to plan some visits. You need to schedule meetings. But I will also say to you, I have a fair amount of people who just show up at my office and ask me if I have time. My job is to serve. And so if I have the time, I will sit down, I will talk to them, I will make program comparisons. So schedule meetings with faculty, schedule meetings with administration, and schedule meetings with current students. The types of tests you have to take depend on the school. The MCAT you have to take for getting into medical school. The Graduate Management Acceptance Test, the GMAT, is what you'll have to take to get in business school. Do not wait until the last minute to take these tests. I've had a number of students, number of applicants that have done that. I've had a number of applicants who didn't study for the exam and therefore did not get a good grade on the exam. So it's just like when you were in high school and people said, take the SAT, take it as early as you can. The same thing applies here. If you're an undergrad in college, take it during your junior year or the beginning of your senior year. In our business school, we will accept a score on the GMAT that's up to 5 years old. So we would like to have you do that. In some instances, there may be fee waivers, but that's more rare than it is realistic. Take those prep tests, and if a school offers a course in taking certain exams like the GRE or the GMAT or the LSAT, get into that course, register for that course, because it will do you a world of good. When it gets down to recommendations, make sure that you are going to give your recommendation form to someone who knows you well, because an admissions officer is looking for honesty. They're looking for a person that will give a confirmation of the skills that you say you have. They will also be honest enough to say where you might have what we call weaknesses, and that those weaknesses are easy to be overcome. When you're asking someone for a recommendation, get the forms to them. Don't ask them to mail it back to you. Send the form along with a stamped and addressed envelope to get back to the program. Your resume is important. I ask for resumes when the student or the applicant is going to come for an interview with me. Make sure that you meet the deadline date. All right? We have deadlines at the School of Business. One is November 15th. The other is July 15th. And it is absolutely amazing to me that on the 15th, it's just like I'm accepting taxes for the IRS, because I get a whole lot of people on that day. Do yourself a favor. Make sure you get that information in early enough. For those people who are going to be your recommenders, always, it's just like an interview. Be sure to send them a thank you note. When you get to the point of having to make an essay, essays reflect how you write. Are you clear? Do you have focus? Did you think about what you were putting on the paper? We want to know what you expect from the program. Where are your areas of interest, and what experience do you have? We want to know a little bit about your educational background. We can see the degree that you had, but we want to know a little bit about what you've done with that degree. We want to know about your goals, both short and long term. I just got a question: is an MBA valuable if you have an undergraduate accounting degree? Absolutely. Primarily because it's more than just numbers. It's about understanding how the numbers that you're looking at help the business, help the people understand how to make decisions. So yes, I have a number of people in the program who are accountants. So it is absolutely valuable if you have an undergraduate accounting degree. Think back again on the reasons why you want to attend and your personal uniqueness. What makes you different than anyone else? like to read what we have on our MBA program instructions for the essay. We say it should be 400 to 500 words. It should indicate your experiences and achievements which reflect management, leadership, organizational, creativity, maturity, initiative, and administrative skills. Also specify your educational and job-related goals as you contemplate beginning your studies for your MBA degree. So you say, well, I have all these thoughts in my head, but I don't know. I think I might need some help writing the essays. Well, I've given you a link to an essay, but you can also schedule an appointment at Career Services. They will be very glad to give you help. Here on campus, we have an obligation and a mission to serve those people who come here. So they will be here to help you if you feel that you need the help. But again, an essay is not a resume. A resume is altogether different. So I want people to be able to clearly express themselves in what they want. Now, if you're going into an educational situation, academia, for instance, they're probably going to want to take a look at some of your writing samples because that will help them make a decision on you. Some may want, in addition to recommendation letters, they may want some personal references because those personal references will tell them about you. It is extremely important to make sure that you get transcripts from every college you have attended. You cannot bring to that particular program your transcript. Your transcript has to be validated by the registrar of the office, of the university, and stamped to say that it is from that university. Also, again, the deadline time is extremely important. So be sure to follow all the deadlines and send that information when it's requested. Before you come to the interview, it's just like going for a job. Know about the program, know about the faculty. If you don't, believe me, it will show in the interview. Read about the institution. If you want to come to an institution but you don't have the time to study about the institution, that does not reflect well. And believe me, it does show. Prepare the questions that you want to ask. And determine when during the interview it's the time to ask those questions. And you can ask it sometimes at any point in time. We've gone to a business casual environment, but remember, it's all about looking your best. I've had people show up for interviews in jeans. Dress for success. Dress professionally, dress comfortably. If you're nervous, it'll show. Don't be nervous. We're trying to get some information from you, and we don't bite. Talk to current students or ask for opinion of students and their advisors. Eye contact is extremely important. Being confident about yourself. If you don't know yourself better than anybody else, you're not going to do well in an interview. But remember, there are some interviewers like me who will get you so at ease that you'll think you're in a social environment. Remember, you're still being evaluated. So I'm not saying my job is to sneak up on people, but you probably sometimes will interview with more than one person. Be aware that even though it may be in a social environment, you are still being interviewed and being evaluated. So be on your best behavior. It is important to keep your grades up. In a lot of the programs, you must maintain at least a 3.0 average. You must have that type of average if you're trying to apply for the program. All work, no play makes you kind of dull. So you need to have something. One of our professors says there's two types of stress. There's eustress, which is good, and distress, which is bad. And you don't want all of the distress. You have to have a way of being able to relieve some of the tension. If there are opportunities for internships or research opportunity or graduate assistantships, by all means, go for them. They will help you. Get to know the faculty, because the faculty might have some instances where you can write joint papers with them. You will then be able to say that I co-authored a paper with a professor. And like I said earlier, take the admissions test as early as you can. Request the applications before your senior year. If you've already graduated, one of the other things I've got to add in, if you're an alum, is to be sure that you're ready to start studying again. Because if you've been out of studying for a while, it'll come back, but it'll take a little while. Plan to submit the information as early as you can. I said earlier about graduate assistantships. Find out what the tuition costs are. That is extremely important. Some schools may allow you to get your information in as you get it. Here for our MBA, if you get your application in, we start a folder. We then, once we get your recommendation forms, we put those in the folder. It's not complete until we have all pieces of information that we ask for. Also, if you're going to need financial aid, make sure you get the application in early, because decisions are made early. That's the same thing with admission. Don't wait till the last minute. Just because you have a bachelor's degree does not mean that you're going to get a master's degree. It's about tenacity. It's about persevering. It's about having people that can pick you up when you're down. Because I'd be telling you something that's not true, that it won't be a time when you're in the programs that you've selected where you won't be questioning why you made this choice. My advice is to hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there. So I think I've come to the end of the journey. Do any of you have any questions? I'd be glad to answer them at this point. And as always, I thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to get into the webinar. So thank you very much for listening to me. Are there any questions? The hiring environment for an MBA in Fort Wayne is we're about the same as most other places. The MBA is still attractive. In Fort Wayne, our program is a part-time program. So a lot of the people that come into our program are already working. So their MBA will enhance them. We're working right now with Career Services for ways of being able to enhance the visibility of our MBAs in the Fort Wayne area with the employers with whom we engage. As a matter of fact, we've got something coming up really quick? I'm going to ask Ashley to talk about that really quickly.
Sure. On November 29th from 5:30 to 7 p.m., we put together a panel of community leaders, employers who currently have their MBA, who work in HR from a variety of different companies, Vera Bradley, Parkview Health Systems, Tower Bank, Do It Best. And it's going to be a panel style presentation, and those kinds of questions are going to kind of be addressed of the market of the MBA in Fort Wayne and the value and how to sell yourself. So that might be a panel that you might be interested in attending.
Well, what's more important there is networking is extremely important, especially in a city the size of Fort Wayne. So networking also helps one get a job. I'm reading Ingrid's questions, so just give me a little time. Ingrid, is that a graduate aid position? Just say yes or no. Well, okay. It depends on the school. Graduate, let me just say in the School of Business, the professors don't bring on the graduate aides. I do. And so basically we have another application for graduate aides. All of our information is online. And so if you were to go to www.ipfw.edu/MBA, and you were to get into our MBA site, click on the link for the MBA Plus program. On the left sidebar, somewhere down towards the bottom, are graduate opportunities, not graduation, graduate opportunities. You fill out an application there, and that's a separate interview. At this point in time, I have about 9 graduate aides on. So if you're applying for engineering, it's the same thing. They have a person in the school. I don't know the name of the person to whom you should send that request. If you were able to get, Ingrid, if you were able to get your information to Ashley, she could get it to me, and I could get some exercise walking over to our engineering school to find out who that particular person is. I'd be glad to do that for you. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I left out is that my undergraduate degree, I'm in the School of Business, I teach marketing. My undergraduate degree is electrical engineering. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks, Ingrid. I'm asked a question, but Ingrid, if you're going to apply any place, just get in contact with that school and find out who that person is. Find out whether they have the application procedure and to whom that information should be sent. I don't know where, I've got a question from Amber. When you take a look at the GPA is one of the components. I'm not just looking at the GPA. The GPA in my instance for the MBA may be solely, let me change that. It might influence what grades you might need to get on the GMAT. But the GPA is but one component of a person. It tells me what you were able to do, but it is not necessarily a predictor of what you will do in the future. So in my particular instance, it's one of the components. Uh, the other thing you might also be consider is the the GPA in your major might be better versus your overall GPA. And one other thing that recruiters, interviewers, admissions officers look for is your overall GPA may be under 3.0, but is there progression? Did you get into some bumps at the beginning, but it's been growing since then? That's why I said earlier, it's more than just GPA. I get the transcript, so I'm able to look at history and tell whether you progressed or not. Okay? I hope that helps you. Okay, if a person is thinking of a program that's not related to their bachelor's degree, let me just say this. I can only speak from the area that I know best, and that's from the MBA. I have people coming into the MBA from geology, from nursing, from biology. Uh, if you're not in a traditional business program and you want to go into another program that's not related to your bachelor's degree, you will have to show the connection where you have the wherewithal to be able to succeed in that program. And so therein lies part of the investigation that I talked about and looking into the program. What's their measure of success for someone who does not have a bachelor's degree related to that particular program? So what you're going to have to do is some investigation and then make sure that there is a connection and that you're not out in left field where they want somebody to be a little closer to home plate. Any other questions? Well, I thank you all for spending the time with me, and I look forward to being able to help those of you who want my help in the future. The last slide has my contact information. Before the 481 is a 260 if you're not here in Fort Wayne. And thank you very much for taking the time with me today.